In today's episode, I'll take an old nightstand and turn it from this into this. So stay tuned. I just brought home my latest find. Found this in a thrift store. And it is a mid-century piece. It was made by Dixie. It says right here in the drawer. And I would call it a nightstand or a side table or end table. But in the back of the piece, it's actually labeled as a commode, although it's kind of hard to see. The top is in terrible shape. There's a lot of stains and really deep scratches. Hopefully I can get some of that out at least. The drawer fronts have some pretty deep scratches. Looks like somebody scratched their name into the drawers, into both of them. So, see if I can get that out. The rest of it isn't too bad. And we're having some warmish weather here today. So I'm going to get started right away. So I'm going to start by removing the old finish. And I'll begin with a scraper, see how that works. Now I want to apply oxalic acid to the whole top to try to get rid of some of these dark stains. And I just sanded it with 100 grit sandpaper just to kind of open up the grain a little bit so that the oxalic acid can soak in. And I'll just go over the whole top with this. The legs have a dark black stain on the bottom, probably from sitting in water. So I'm going to try some oxalic acid on those spots, see if I can clear that up. And I'll just go over the whole leg. So it looks like the oxalic acid did work on the legs. You can still see a little bit of a dark spot there, but it's a lot better than it was, and I should be able to work with that. So I let the oxalic acid on the top sit overnight, and I can already see there's still some of a ring there, but let's see how it looks. Well, it's really not much better, I don't think. So I guess my last resort is to try some sanding. So it looks like I won't be able to save this top. That ring didn't come out with the oxalic acid. I tried some sanding, but that didn't help either, and this is a veneer, so if I do any more sanding, I'm just going to go through the veneer. And on top of that, there's also some really deep scratches that also aren't going to come out. So I think plan B is to put a new piece of veneer over the top. But first, I want to seal it with some shellac. This is the shellac that I'm putting on, and I'm not even sure actually if it's necessary to seal this before I put the veneer on, but it seems like a good idea, and it can't hurt, I think. This is the veneer that I'm going to use, and it's walnut veneer, and it's peel and stick veneer. So just peel off this backing, and then it's already got adhesive on it, and just stick it down. And it works great, especially for small surfaces like this. The veneer is now on, and I just wet everything down with some water, and now we can see the true color of everything. And the top is obviously different color than everything else. And I like to have things usually closer in color than they are here. So I need to think about how I want to accomplish that. I think I'll just be adding some stain, but not sure which stain yet. So I'm going to go and see what I've got and what might work well for this, and I'll be right back. So I decided to just make my own stain for this using these dyes and some water. I've done this before, and it's usually worked out well, so I'm going to give it a try again. And I'm just going to start with some brown dye, because I know I want this to be mostly brown. And again, this is just plain water. And this is just going to be a lot of trial and error. I do have a piece of the veneer that I put on top that I can test this on. That looks pretty good, actually. But I might want it darker, I think. I don't have a piece of scrap veneer from the rest of the piece, unfortunately, because I didn't put that veneer on, so that'll just have to be a surprise. So that is looking pretty good, actually, but let's see, what do I have here? No, I don't have any red. I thought maybe I had some red I could put in it. I kind of like red, a little bit of red at least, in stains. I know it seems like the trend these days is to go with really kind of bleached out, light, pale colors, and I like that sometimes, but I don't know, I still like kind of warm, reddish, amberish colors. I'm gonna go see if I have any red. Be right back. Okay, I do have some red, and it's a different product than these dyes, but pretty sure it's water soluble. Soluble. Pretty sure it works in water. And I'm not expecting the top and the rest of the piece to match exactly. They're not going to, and I'm not going to try to make them, but I just want them to be kind of close in the same family. I personally don't feel like it's that big a deal if they're not exact, because you're never going to see the top and sides in the same light anyway, because they're on different planes, so I don't need it to be exact. And I can always adjust the colors later if the top and the sides are way off. And I think I'll add just a touch of, let's see, orange. Why not? Whoa, that was way more than I expected to put in there. Let's see how it looks. That looks good. Just gonna go with that. See how that looks. And I did wet down the entire piece with water previously, which is a good idea if you're using a water-based stain, because the water will make the grain raise. It'll make it kind of fuzzy. So by wetting it down first before I put the stain on, then hopefully won't raise the grain as much when I put the stain on, because it's already been raised. So I wet it and then I sanded it smooth, and then now I'm going to put the stain on. So I think I mentioned earlier that I might need to adjust the color on the bottom at least. And now that the stain is on, I do see that I do need to adjust it. The top is more brown than the bottom. So I think I want to put some walnut gel stain on the bottom, which is mostly brown. But it's raining and cold today, so this might take a while to dry. So I don't know, I may need to do the gel stain tomorrow. Or maybe I'll help this along with a heat gun to get it to dry quicker, since it is just water. We'll see. So I decided to come inside and continue working in here. It's just too cold and wet out there to put finish on. So it's time for the gel stain, walnut gel stain. And I'm just going to put it on everything but the top. A bigger applicator would be better, but I don't have one. So I'm not very happy with how this looks. It looks too kind of dirty and blotchy. And I'm wondering if maybe I forgot to finish sanding it to a fine grit, so maybe it's absorbing too much of the stain because I only sanded with a coarse grit. Not sure. But I'm going to take a paper towel with some mineral spirits and wipe some of this off just before it dries and see if that helps. And that already looks better to me, actually, in this area here. Okay, so I was thinking about this more, and now I'm wondering if this happened because I put this stain directly over the water stain without sealing it first. So I think in the past when I've done this, I've put a coat of shellac on after the water stain and then put the gel stain on so that the wood wouldn't absorb as much gel stain with the shellac on there. So I wonder if the water stain kind of opened up the grain a bit as it got absorbed, and maybe that's why the wood absorbed so much of the gel stain, since I didn't put a sealer coat of shellac on first. So I don't know, just thinking maybe that's why. But it's definitely getting better as I'm taking it off with the mineral spirits. Now I'm not taking off all of it, just the excess. So I let the gel stain dry overnight, and now it's the next day, and this morning I sprayed some shellac, a couple of coats over the whole thing, just to seal in the stain. And I think it's going to be okay. I was not sure yesterday the way that stain looked, if I was going to have to redo everything, but I think it's going to work out. So now I just want to put another coat of the gel stain on, the same one, but I shouldn't have any problems this time with it blotching or anything because I've sealed it with the shellac. So I just want to add this coat to add a little bit more color, and I decided to also add a coat to the top. So time for some more stain. Well, I managed to drop this drawer right after I put the stain on, and I damaged the corner. A little piece of the veneer chipped off, and this is kind of pressed up now. So I'm going to fix that with a hard fill stick that I have. Here it is, with this. I'm going to melt it in there. But first, I need to flatten this out, so just going to cut out some of this wood that got pushed up. Don't need that anymore. Then I can just melt this into here. I feel like this is going to be an easier and just all-around better repair than trying to put a piece of veneer there. Sometimes it's easier to blend these sticks in than it is to blend the piece of veneer into there. Okay, so that's dry, and then I just want to level it out. And thankfully, this is in a spot that's not going to be very visible. It's not like it's in the middle of the drawer. Just going to build it up a little bit more. And that'll do. Last coat of stain is dry, and now it's time for some more shellac. And this is clear shellac, by the way. The shellac is now dry, and it's time for some wool lube and fine steel wool. And this will just smooth it out a bit and take down the sheen, so it's kind of a nice satin sheen. And sometime in the future I may decide to put some polyurethane on the top just for some extra protection, but I think for now I'm just going to call this done. And if you're wondering about the scratches that were on the drawer fronts where somebody scratched their name in there, I wasn't able to get it out completely. I couldn't sand it out or else I would have gone through the veneer. And I just decided to leave them. They're not very visible, but they are somewhat visible if you look closely. But I'm not really bothered by them, so I'm just going to leave them. And here it is, all finished. Thanks for watching.